The alien tribe of women, who had never seen a man, almost ate me. The crash wasn't cinematic. No blazing descent. No triumphant emergency landing. Just a shriek of metal, sparks in every direction, and Captain Darius thudding against the restraints so hard he swore he left a dent in the seat. When the ship finally gave up on pretending it could still be a ship and sprawled across the violet grass plain in a heap of smoke and broken panels, Darius hung upside down, blinking at the fractured console. "Congratulations, Captain," he muttered to himself. "Another successful landing. You only completely destroyed all of it this time." He released the harness, crashed to the ceiling, now floor, and staggered upright. The air tasted metallic, humming faintly in his ears, and the gravity pressed down heavier than Earth's, as if the whole planet was trying to sit on his shoulders. Outside the cracked viewport, skies shimmered with shifting auroras in neon greens and blues, curling like living rivers. He should have been awestruck. Instead, he rubbed his bruised ribs and thought, that looks expensive to repair. The survival manual recommended a calm assessment of supplies. Darius looked at the smoking wreck and decided calm assessment could wait. He grabbed what hadn't been reduced to scrap, a half-functioning wrist scanner, a ration bar that tasted like cardboard dipped in salt, and a plasma pistol that sputtered and coughed whenever he tapped the trigger. "Perfect," he said. "I'll starve, trip over my own shadow, and then shoot myself with a gun that sounds like an asthmatic toaster." He stepped out into the grass, which reached his knees and glowed faintly when brushed. The field stretched toward cliffs carved into spiraling towers, bone-white against the aurora sky. The place was beautiful, alien, and absolutely the kind of terrain predators would love. His wrist scanner beeped erratically, insisting that everything in the vicinity was both edible and poisonous. He shook it until it displayed a smiley face, and decided that was good enough. He hadn't gone more than 20 steps before he realized someone, or something, was following him. At first it was subtle, just a faint crunch of grass. Then the air shifted with whispers, not words, but a series of clicks and lilting notes. Darius's stomach dropped. He considered sprinting back to the wreck, then remembered it was currently a bonfire. "Great," he whispered, caught between barbecue and whatever this is. They appeared all at once, rising from the grass like statues come alive. Tall, taller than him by half a head, maybe more. Skin smooth in varying shades of copper and bronze that shimmered faintly under the aurora. Human-like, yes, shockingly so, but with long ears that swept upward in graceful arcs, twitching and angling toward him like living antennae. Their eyes glowed faintly in colors that made his human vision feel inadequate. Each carried a spear carved from crystal, the edges gleaming sharper than steel. Darius raised his hands. "Hello, I'm Captain Darius, interstellar crash victim, occasional karaoke singer, not poisonous, and hopefully not on the menu." They circled him silently, ears twitching. One prodded his arm with a spear. Another leaned close enough that he could feel her breath on his cheek, then muttered something in their clicking tongue. From their expressions, none of it translated to welcome guest. He tried again. "Listen, I come in peace. And if you don't speak English, I'm fluent in interpretive dance." He wiggled his arms half-heartedly. They blinked at him. One tilted her head, ears twitching like sails in the wind. Then came laughter. Deep, rolling laughter from one of them, the tallest with hair like silver wires flowing down her back. She spoke in a low voice, the sound sharp, final. Immediately the others tightened their circle. Spears lowered. Darius swallowed hard. "Okay, this is fine. It's just like camping, except the bears have fashion-model cheekbones and very pointy sticks." They bound his wrists with cords that hummed faintly, vibrating against his skin as if alive. When he resisted, one jabbed his ribs with a spear. He squeaked, an undignified, high-pitched noise that made the warriors grin toothily, revealing sharp canines. Not human teeth at all. Predatory. He tried to laugh it off. "Huh, look at that. You've got dental plans. Meanwhile, I haven't been to a dentist in 3 years. Who's the real savage here, huh?" Nobody laughed. They dragged him through the violet grass, toward the cliffs. The ground shook faintly with each of their strides. Their strength was casual, terrifying. Above them, the aurora rippled in silent waves, painting the world in liquid light. As they climbed toward the bone-white towers carved into the cliffside, Darius's survival instincts screamed louder with every step. Still, he clung to humor like a life raft. "Note to self," he muttered. "Next time, crash somewhere with vending machines instead of Amazonian ear elves. Preferably vending machines that serve pizza." One warrior glanced at him, ears flicking. She didn't laugh, but her lips curved as though she almost understood. That tiny crack of amusement, fragile as it was, felt like the first moment he might live long enough to regret everything else. They reached the entrance of the village, arched gates of stone veined with glowing vines. Inside, more of them waited, dozens, their glowing eyes fixated on him. The silver-haired leader lifted her spear high, shouted something that rattled through the cliffs, and the crowd roared in reply. Darius winced. "Yeah," he muttered. "Definitely not here for the neighborhood potluck." And with that, they dragged him into the heart of a tribe that looked at him not as a man, not as a guest, but as something exotic, something unknown, something they might decide tasted better roasted. The cords vibrated against his wrists with a faint hum, as if they were amused by his predicament. Darius stumbled forward as the warriors hauled him into the heart of their village, where the cliffs yawned into an open courtyard lit by vines that pulsed with a bioluminescent rhythm. Dozens of long-eared women lined the steps carved into the stone, spears tapping the ground in sync with his heartbeat. If it was meant as intimidation, it worked. His pulse was already racing like a hyperactive engine. They paraded him to the center, where a stone platform jutted up like a stage. Darius half expected someone to hand him a microphone and announce open mic night. Instead, the silver-haired leader lifted her spear, and the crowd hushed with such suddenness that even the air seemed to pause. She barked a series of sharp syllables, and the translator on his wrist tried desperately to keep up. It beeped, word, and finally declared, "Subject animal questionable origin edible?" "Edible." Darius whispered, "No, no, no. Bad translation. Try again. Try something like distinguished guest, or handsome pilot of remarkable bravery." The device beeped again, cheerfully displaying a single word. "Snack." The crowd murmured, their ears twitching in eerie unison. One woman stepped closer and poked his chest with the blunt end of her spear, muttering a question that made the translator stutter. "What is it?" "Male. Myth." Another voice cut in, curious, then skeptical. "Hairless beast. Weak. Food." Darius forced a grin. "Food? Me? Absolutely not. I'm stringy. High cholesterol. Terrible flavor profile. Ask anyone who's dated me." The women tilted their heads, clearly not getting the joke. One repeated the word date experimentally, which only made him shudder. The leader gestured, and the cords around his wrists tightened. He winced but noticed how their humming shifted with her command. Not rope, some kind of organic restraint, alive and obedient. It dawned on him that escape wasn't going to be as simple as gnawing through the bindings with his teeth. They began to circle him, discussing him openly, the translator lagging behind. Strange, not like us dangerous. Delicious. The words scrambled, overlapping. He caught fragments, predator, spirit, curse, none of which made his odds sound better. And then she appeared, younger than the others, her movements less heavy with authority, her long ears flicking with restless energy. She slipped between the warriors and crouched at his side, studying his face with wide, luminous eyes. While the others spoke and clipped commands, her voice was soft, curious. She reached out and touched his hand. Every ear in the courtyard twitched sharply at once. The air thickened. Darius froze. The translator buzzed, then whispered the halting phrase. "Not food. Different." The silence that followed was suffocating. The crowd rippled with disbelief, mutters building like storm winds. Some laughed, sharp, derisive. Others hissed. The leader's eyes narrowed, her spear lowering. Yet no one moved to strike him. Darius, sensing the sliver of a chance, seized it. Yes, what she said. Not food. Different. Very different. In fact, I'd give you indigestion so bad, your healer would retire. He slapped his chest proudly, though his knees wobbled. So clearly, eating me would be a terrible idea. A ripple of sound swept the crowd, confusion, suspicion, amusement. The leader barked another order. Instead of skewering him, they untied the cords, though the humming lingered in his skin as though the bindings had imprinted themselves there. 2 warriors grabbed his arms and dragged him toward a stone enclosure at the edge of the village. The door clanged shut behind him. It wasn't exactly a cell, more like a room carved into the cliff wall, glowing vines snaking across the ceiling. A bowl of something steaming sat in the corner, along with a jug of liquid that smelled faintly like batteries. He sniffed. Oh good. Alien prison food. Just what I needed. Anyone got ketchup? A shadow fell across the doorway. It was her, the young one. She slipped inside, her ears twitching nervously. In halting words, half hers and half clumsily supported by his translator, she spoke. You man. Man real. Darius blinked. Last time I checked. Unless this is some weird dream, in which case I'd prefer one with fewer spears and more pizza. She didn't understand the pizza part, but she smiled faintly. They say man-myth. Dangerous. Cursed. But you. Her fingers brushed the air near his arm, hesitant. Small. Funny. Hey, Darius said, feigning offense. I'll have you know I'm considered tall on my planet. Very tall. Some people even called me average. Her laughter was soft, nervous, but real. Darius latched onto it like oxygen. If one of them could see him as something other than food, maybe, just maybe, he had a chance. Outside, the chants of the tribe rose again, echoing against the cliffs. The leader's voice thundered above the rest, issuing a decree his translator struggled to interpret. It spat out 3 possible translations: trial, judgment, or dinner. Darius groaned and slumped against the wall. Trial, judgment, or dinner. Wonderful. Either I'm in court, on probation, or on a plate. And people said space exploration would be glamorous. The young woman touched her chest lightly and said her name. Xyrrha. She waited. He straightened, forced a grin, and tapped his chest. Darius. Captain. Professional crash expert. Her ears twitched in amusement. Then her expression sobered. Tomorrow. They decide. Decide what? Darius asked, though he already knew. The translator beeped once. Eat. Or keep. He groaned again, staring at the glowing vines. Great. I've officially become the galaxy's weirdest pet adoption case. Morning. If you could call it morning when the sky glowed every color except normal, arrived with the sound of spears tapping against stone. Darius blinked awake on the vine-lit floor of his enclosure, muttering. Still not Earth. Still no coffee. Still possibly an appetizer. He dragged himself upright, just as the door swung open and 2 warriors stepped in, their long ears twitching like metronomes. Without a word, they grabbed his arms and marched him outside. The village was awake, if that was the right word for it. Women moved through the courtyard carrying bundles of glowing vines, exchanging sharp words in their musical, clicking tongue. Everywhere he looked, those long ears flicked toward him, some in suspicion, some in amusement, more than a few in open hunger. His translator buzzed and spat out random fragments from their conversations. Strange creature, cursed male, maybe chewy. They led him to the same platform where the night before he'd been declared snack of the month. Today, though, the mood felt more ceremonial. The silver-haired leader sat atop a carved throne of bone-white stone, her spear propped against her shoulder. Around her, the tribe gathered in a wide circle. Darius raised his hands and tried to look harmless. Good morning, or afternoon, or aurora o'clock, whatever you people call it. I'd like to volunteer for the not eaten program, please. The leader barked an order. Xyrrha appeared from the crowd, ears quivering as she stepped up beside him. Darius almost sighed with relief. At least one person here didn't immediately want to roast him. She spoke, haltingly, words patched together by the translator. He shows skills. Prove, not pray. Different. The leader tilted her head, skeptical, then gestured sharply. Immediately, 3 warriors dumped an armful of objects at Darius's feet. A lump of crystal, a jug of shimmering liquid, and a small beast that resembled a cross between a rabbit and a chainsaw. It snarled at him, tiny fangs snapping. Darius stared at the pile. What is this, an alien game show? Am I supposed to juggle, cook, or wrestle Fluffy here to the death? The rabbit chainsaw thing growled louder. He sighed. Fine. No pressure. Just my life on the line. Again, he picked up the crystal first. It thrummed faintly in his palm, vibrating with a pulse that matched his heartbeat. His scanner, miraculously still strapped to his wrist, beeped. A readout scrolled across the cracked display. Xyrrha resonance shard. Energy storage potential, extreme. Handle carefully. Extreme, huh? Darius muttered. So basically a battery rock. Great. He tapped it against the jug. Sparks flared, fizzing the liquid inside until it glowed like molten stars. The crowd gasped in unison. Darius blinked. Okay, that's a good sign, right? They're gasping because they're impressed, not because I just made their holy relic explode. The rabbit beast growled again. Darius crouched, cautiously holding the glowing jug out. Here, Fluffy. Here, Fluffy. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. Or at least don't bite too hard. The creature sniffed, then lapped at the glowing liquid. A second later, its fangs retracted, and it purred like a hoverbike engine. The crowd murmured louder, ears twitching wildly. Xyrrha grinned, her eyes bright. She spoke quickly to the leader, words tumbling over one another. The leader listened, her expression unreadable, then finally nodded once. Darius exhaled shakily. Did I just pass the trial? Because if this is round 1, I don't think I'll survive round 2. The translator buzzed. Xyrrha leaned closer, whispering. Not prey. Clever. Maybe use. Use, Darius repeated. That doesn't sound better than eat. I don't want to be a can opener for your pet murder bunny. But the mood had shifted. The tribe no longer looked at him purely as food. Now they looked at him as something else. A tool, a curiosity, maybe even a puzzle worth keeping alive. Darius wasn't sure which was worse. The leader barked again, and the circle broke apart. Warriors filed back into the village, though not without glancing at him, ears twitching with intrigue. 2 stayed behind, escorting him back to his enclosure. This time, though, the door wasn't locked. Inside, Xyrrha waited. She had brought more food, or at least something in a bowl that smelled faintly less like batteries. She set it down and watched him expectantly. He poked the glowing mush with a finger. Looks like oatmeal from hell. Smells like Jim's socks. But hey, free meal. He shoveled a spoonful into his mouth, chewed, grimaced. Tastes like sadness. But I've eaten worse. Her ears flicked with amusement. You live. Today. Leader C. Not prey. Yeah, until she changes her mind and I'm back on the menu. He slumped against the wall, rubbing his temples. This planet really needs a welcome tourist brochure. Xyrrha tilted her head. Man always joke. Pretty much, he said. Keeps me from screaming in terror every 5 minutes. She considered that, then laughed softly. Funny. Small. Strange. Darius raised a brow. You keep calling me small, and I'm going to start carrying around a step stool just to even the score. Her laughter grew, a sound that carried through the glowing vines, warm and unguarded. For the first time since crashing on Xyrrha, Darius didn't feel like he was dangling over a cooking fire. He felt maybe, just maybe, like he had a chance. Outside, though, the chants of the tribe rose again, echoing against the cliffs. The words rolled through the translator, broken but clear enough. Tested strange, dangerous, watch closely. Darius groaned. Fantastic. I've gone from dinner to lab rat. My mom always said I'd be special one day. This is not what she meant. The first warning was the sound, a low rumble that vibrated through the cliffs, rattling the glowing vines overhead. Darius had been halfway through complaining to Xyrrha about the lack of chairs in his enclosure. Seriously, I've been sitting on rock for 2 days. But has achieved geological status, when the entire chamber shuddered. Dust drifted from the ceiling. Outside, shouts rose, sharper than the usual rhythmic chants. Xyrrha's ears twitched violently. She grabbed his arm, pulling him toward the doorway. Beast, she said, the translator lagging a beat before spitting out. Dangerous. Hunt. Oh, good, Darius muttered as they stepped into the courtyard. Because things weren't exciting enough already. Who doesn't love a surprise monster attack? The tribe was in chaos. Warriors sprinted toward the gates, their crystalline spears sparking as they struck them against the ground. The silver-haired leader barked orders, her voice booming over the noise. The villagers climbed the cliff walls, dragging children with them, their ears twitching like alarm signals. Then the beast arrived. It didn't roar, it shrieked, a piercing cry that drilled straight into Darius's skull. 6 legs pounded across the violet grass, each tipped with claws that dug into stone like butter. Its body shimmered, almost translucent, ribs and muscles visible beneath the skin. Rows of teeth dripped glowing saliva that hissed where it touched the ground. Darius stumbled back. Oh no. Nope. I'm not licensed for this. My crash course in alien wildlife didn't include 6-legged nightmare with built-in X-ray mode. The warriors charged, spears raised. The beast lunged, scattering them with terrifying speed. One warrior was thrown aside like a doll, crashing into a stone wall. Another narrowly dodged claws that gouged deep furrows into the earth. Instinct screamed at Darius to run, but he saw the plasma pistol strapped at his hip, the one he dismissed as a wheezy toaster. He yanked it free, thumbed the charge, and aimed. The pistol wheezed, sparked, and fired a pitiful bolt that sizzled against the beast's shoulder. It didn't kill it, but it did make the creature pause, just long enough for the warriors to regroup. Huh, Darius shouted. Take that, you glow-in-the-dark disaster. Yeah, that's right, I'm dangerous too. He glanced at the pistol, whispering, Please don't explode in my hand. The beast turned its head, eyes like molten glass fixing on him. Darius's grin vanished. Oh, right, now it wants me specifically. That's flattering. It charged. He barely dove aside, rolling across the courtyard and coming up coughing on dust. The pistol sputtered, its charge light blinking red. He smacked it against his palm. Come on, Toaster. This is no time to die of stage fright. The beast reared back, maw gaping. Warriors jabbed at its flanks, distracting it, but it swung its tail and sent them flying. Darius scrambled to his feet, heart pounding. He had one idea, and it was terrible. He lifted the resonance shard he'd pocketed from the earlier trial. The crystal pulsed with faint energy, resonating with the air. He held it high. Hey, ugly. Ever lick a battery? The beast shrieked and lunged again. Darius slammed the shard against the pistol, praying physics and miracles were in a generous mood. Energy sparked, flared, and the pistol roared to life with a blast so bright it seared his retinas. The bolt struck the beast square in the chest. It staggered, howled, and collapsed into a quivering heap, its translucent body flickering like a dying projection. A heartbeat later, it dissolved into nothing more than a smear of glowing residue. Silence. Darius lowered the pistol, smoke curling from its vents. His knees wobbled. Okay, so either I just killed it, or I gave it the galaxy's worst case of indigestion. He blinked at the stunned crowd. Either way, you're welcome. The tribe erupted, not in screams, but in cheers. Spears clattered against stone. Warriors raised their voices in unison. Leora beamed at him, her ears twitching like excited pennants. She rushed forward, grabbing his hand, shouting words too fast for the translator to catch. The leader descended from her throne, eyes narrowed as she studied him. She didn't speak immediately, letting the noise wash over them. When she finally did, her words came slow, deliberate. The translator chimed. Lightning from hands. Power, not prey. Maybe protector. Darius raised an eyebrow. Protector? Me. Lady, I almost passed out from rolling in the dirt. You sure you've got the right guy? The crowd didn't care. They shouted his name. Well, something vaguely like Darius, and chanted until the cliff shook. For the first time since crashing, he wasn't being weighed as food. He was being weighed as something else entirely. Leora squeezed his hand, her voice soft. Now they see. He groaned. Yeah, but what exactly do they see? Hero, wizard, or walking lightning snack? He waved the smoking pistol weakly. Because honestly, I've got maybe one more shot left before this thing explodes and takes my arm with it." The leader's lips curved, the faintest ghost of a smile. She lifted her spear high, declaring something that made the tribe roar louder. The translator flickered, struggling to keep up. It spat out fragments. "Not eaten, not animal, one of us?" Darius blinked, dazed. "One of us? Oh no. Don't get me wrong, I'm flattered. But I can barely keep up with the laundry on my ship, and you people expect me to slay monsters before breakfast." Leora laughed, her ears trembling with delight. She leaned closer. "They will not eat you now." He exhaled, shoulders slumping. "Well, that's progress. Step 1, don't get eaten. Step 2, survive initiation into Ear Twitcher Village. Step 3, pray the next beast is allergic to sarcasm, because that's my only real weapon." But as the tribe chanted his name beneath the aurora-lit sky, Darius realized something unsettling. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He was becoming a part of their story. And if that story demanded more monsters, more trials, more near-death experiences, then he was in far deeper than he'd ever planned. He muttered under his breath, "Should have stayed in the wreckage. At least there, the only thing trying to eat me was boredom." The trial wasn't a fight this time. It was a gathering. The tribe filled the courtyard, their spears planted in the ground like a forest of crystal. The leader stood at the center, silver hair rippling as the aurora bled across the sky above. Darius was shoved forward, less roughly than usual, which he decided was progress. Nobody tied him up. Nobody poked him with a spear. He counted that as a win. The leader raised her hand. Silence fell. Her voice rolled through the air, low and commanding. The translator on his wrist whirred, then spat out. "Decision. Fate. Judgment." Darius groaned. "Great. My 3 favorite words." Always followed by the phrase, "We regret to inform you." Leora appeared beside him, her ears quivering. She glanced at him nervously, then faced her people. She spoke quickly, passionately, pointing at Darius, then at the shattered stones where the beast had fallen the day before. Her words tumbled faster than the translator could handle, fragments spilling out. "Not prey, brave, lightning ally." The crowd murmured. Some nodded. Others hissed. The leader lifted her spear, silencing them again. Then she turned to Darius, her glowing eyes unblinking. "Speak," the translator buzzed. Darius froze. "Speak. To all of you? No pressure, huh?" He cleared his throat, staring at the sea of ears twitching in perfect synchronization. "Okay, here goes nothing." He raised his hands. "Look, I'm not a god. I'm not a wizard. I'm not even particularly good at karaoke. I'm just a guy who fell out of the sky and has been improvising ever since. And trust me, if you eat me, you'll regret it. I'm chewy, stringy, and you'll be hungry again in an hour. But if you keep me around," he pointed at the remains of the beast's glowing residue, "I can help. Not because I'm magical, but because I'm stubborn, a little crazy, and I've got tools you've never seen before. You think I brought down that monster because I'm powerful? Wrong. I did it because I had a broken gun, a rock, and no better ideas. That's what men do. We try dumb things until one of them works, and somehow it keeps us alive." The crowd murmured again. The leader's eyes narrowed. The translator buzzed. "Why keep you?" "Because," Darius said, lowering his voice, "you've never had anyone like me before. And I've never met anyone like you. Maybe we can learn from each other. Maybe I can show you stars beyond this sky. And maybe," he risked a grin, "you can show me how not to get eaten every time I walk outside." Silence stretched. Then laughter, low, rolling laughter, burst from the leader herself. It was a sound that shook the air like thunder. She lowered her spear and declared something the translator caught clearly this time. "Not pray. Not curse. Guest." The courtyard erupted. Some cheered, some argued, but the decree stood. Darius wasn't dinner. He wasn't a pet. He was something else. Leora grabbed his hand, squeezing tightly. Her ears trembled with joy. "Safe," she whispered. "For now," Darius muttered, though relief poured through him like water. He looked around at the warriors, the villagers, the leader herself. They no longer looked at him like prey. They looked at him like possibility. And for the first time since crashing here, he didn't feel alone. That night, instead of a cell, he sat with Xyrrha by a fire fueled by glowing vines. The tribe feasted on the remains of the beast, apparently safe to eat once cooked, and even offered him a portion. He sniffed it, poked it with a stick, then shrugged. If this kills me, at least I'll die full. It didn't kill him. It tasted like spicy chicken with a hint of lightning. Not bad, all things considered. Xyrrha leaned against him, ears brushing his shoulder. You stay, she asked softly. He looked at the aurora sky, endless and strange, then at her. I don't know. My ship's wrecked, my stomach's full of glowing monster meat, and my new friends almost ate me 3 times. Honestly, I should hate this place. He smiled faintly. But I don't. Maybe. I'll stay a while. For the first time in years, he wasn't thinking about running, or surviving, or patching holes in a failing ship. He was thinking about tomorrow, about what it meant to teach, to learn, to be part of something bigger than himself. The tribe roared with laughter around the fire, ears twitching like sails in the aurora wind. Darius raised his bowl, joining in. To not being dinner, he shouted. They echoed him in their clicking tongue, laughter shaking the cliffs. And under the neon sky of Xyrrha, Captain Darius, crash survivor, accidental warrior, professional joke-teller, finally felt like he'd landed exactly where he was meant to be. The end.